Welcome to Babbling Buffoons. All babbling, all buffoonery. I'm Alex.
I'm Jack. Man, can you believe it's been a couple months that we've been doing this so far? I think we're on 3-4 months probably. Right around that.
When did our first video drop?
I think it was in October.
Was it October?
Yeah, and it's going to be close to April.
Yeah. Man, I can't wait for April. But at the same time, I don't want it to come.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I do.
I get older.
I do. I tell you what, man. You brought something up in one of our videos, and it's making me think. When we talked about Bigfoot, we talked about everything. Interdimensional travelers. What about aliens? Do you believe aliens actually exist, or have they even came here?
I think they do. Now, coming here is a kind of a coin flip of a question because I actually saw a video that kind of made sense as to why we may not have yet encountered aliens. And the reason why is when you truly look at how big the universe is and the amount of galaxies and the amount of planets within some of those galaxies and everything like that. What if they do exist? They have just yet either A, like us, don't have the means to get here yet to find us to maybe make contact, or B, they are out there traveling, they have just yet to come to us because of the amount of galaxies and planets that are out there that they could be exploring. That's why I give that a coin flip thing, because it's either they could have maybe found us and we have made contact, or, again, it could be they are like where we're at now, they can't make contact yet, or they just maybe haven't found us because of the vast amount of stuff that's out there.
So I have a couple things. I believe they exist. Here's the reason why. A lot of people want to say aliens as things that come here to our world from another world. On your note, what I'm going to piggyback off of is they exist because you can't tell me there is not one single organism living on all these other planets that are supposed to be out there in all these galaxies. Now, if we're being told the truth that there's this many galaxies, this many planets, and that's what we're led to believe, and it's hard for me to fathom that there ain't an alien life form. Because even if it's an organism, like say a worm on another planet,
It's still life on
it's
it.
an alien.
Well,
Because it's not native to this world.
Well, my thing is, they say one of the biggest key components that needs to make life is water. We have discovered planets that have nothing but water on them, in oceans and land. Like, there's even a video I remember watching. The planet name was like a bunch of numbers, but supposedly we found another planet in another galaxy that's almost very similar to Earth. The same water, landmass, areas and
well,
stuff.
it's a larger planet.
Yeah, it's
I
almost
think it's got like 2 or 3 moons. I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, it's basically similar to Earth and whatnot, and you're going to tell me that place, which is similar to Earth, and we have life here, you're not going to tell me that somehow, some way, life wouldn't exist on that planet as well, when it has the perfect conditions to make life,
Right.
and whatnot. So yeah, that's why I said I think aliens do exist. It's just, like I said, back to initially I was saying, either they could be like us, not here, not being able to make contact, searching still because of all what's out there, or like you said, slightly, they might not be as formed as what we are. They could still just be creatures or animals, insects, bugs, or whatnot.
They haven't evolved
evolved or whatnot and stuff, because time is distorted in space and whatnot.
Right. So do you believe aliens have visited Earth?
See, again, that to me is a coin flip question, because
I believe they have.
I want to say that they have, with some of the things that have, we've seen in past with, with the Egyptians and stuff like that, because the thing that I don't get, and why, like I said, I think they have landed here, but I'm not sure, is some of the symmetry on some of the carvings that were made are so perfect on each side, there's no differential, but yet to this day, we have never been able to do that.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, because, think of the Egyptians, when you go and look at their pyramids and stuff. If you carved into the granite stone that's there, or sandstone, or whatever they carved into, I'm pretty sure it's granite, because it stayed for so long. How in the world are they absolutely flawless in hieroglyphics? Because once you make a mistake in carving, you're not going to pull out a big stone and replace a new one just because of this.
Mm-hmm. Well, not even on top of that, but they've even said with the Great Pyramids, how it was engineered, they said that if a single block like on the base was off by, I think it was either like maybe an eighth of an inch or a fourth of an inch, it was a small number, that the whole thing wouldn't have lined up perfectly like they did. But they said that everything fit perfectly into shape like it was, but yet we can't even still do stuff like that to this day and whatnot. And then what was it? I saw a thing to where when we like dig into the ground for like a core sample or whatnot, we pull out. There were core samples found in Egypt that they said the way the grooves were carved into it, we still can today make grooves in machinery like that and whatnot. And this was back in ancient Egyptian times when they were doing this stuff. So that makes you wonder, did aliens visit at that time? And, leave and not come back to help out or do stuff? I can't necessarily say. I want to say yes, but at the same time, it's still a big mystery. Because if they did, why haven't they ever come back again?
Right. I believe aliens were here before the pyramids. I believe they came to this world, and they gave the indigenous people who was here the ability to learn and showed them how to do things. Now, whether or not that came because of the pyramids, or maybe did the Egyptians come and give help for the pyramids, but I know for a fact that the granite that they had to use, or the stones that they had to use for the pyramids, were hauled miles and
500 miles away.
Was it 500?
If I remember all the videos correctly, I think they said it was like 500 or a little over like 500 miles, like where the quarry was at that they were carving the stones from to transfer over to in Egypt and whatnot. It was like over 500 miles away.
And that's not even getting them out of the quarry and shaping them.
They would cut it out in those long things from the quarry and stuff.
Right,
and
they had to do that, then haul them.
Yeah.
And guess what? They didn't have, we
my
would think they didn't have the technology that we have today.
Well, and my thing is too, here's what I'm curious about, because we've even seen it nowadays when modern machinery cuts a slab out and it falls, some of it sometimes breaks and cracks. But then you look at some of the pieces left behind, they were cut perfect square, like rectangular things, no seams in the cracks, no nothing. So my question is what machinery did they use after cutting it out of the rock to set it on its side like that to not cause anything damage-wise from it hitting the ground to crack or seam or break, because there's none in it, and then be able to move it?
Right.
We can't even still do that nowadays. Like even with some of the forklifts with some of the rocks, like they'll try to help level it, but sometimes I've seen a video where a forklift tried to do that with a stone. When the stone came down, the forklift went up like that because the stone just weighed too much.
Exactly.
So it's like we can't even do that with what we got. How did they do that thousands of years ago?
And a lot of historians want to tell us slavery. Come on, no, you can't tell me.
Even if you had slavery,
you know how much slavery you would have to have.
Well, it's not even that, but say if you did have the physical manpower to move it, what rope is going to sustain that amount of tension?
Exactly.
And then if you build one thick enough to sustain it, it's going to be thick. How are you going to expect people to be able to get a firm grab on it to be able to start pulling and whatnot? So then that makes you wonder, then were giants alive back then to maybe help do this stuff?
Yeah, I tell you, man, a lot of the things that I want to say was aliens. Because it's not just the pyramids; it's the structures under the pyramids that we just now recently discovered. Like, is this a hydro plant? Is this the key to endless clean power? Is the pyramid something like that? Did aliens come to our planet, give us the knowledge to make this, and benefit humankind, not American kind, but humankind, and it was just lost technology after they left us?
Well, it's like they believe, I think it's called the King's Chamber in the pyramid. There's just like a box that's like in there and whatnot. They believe that a specific power source was placed in there, because I guess the way the pyramids they're saying are designed, they believe that it was actually a giant power bank, because the way some of the vents are like channeled, like either it was like light or something was like coming in to hit the device to then be able to send the energy throughout the rest of the pyramids and whatnot to generate power and do things and stuff. Because there's hieroglyphics showing what looks like a light bulb thing with like an eel in it, I think, or like a lightning symbol or some form like indicating power or electricity and whatnot. But yet, supposedly, as far as we know, electricity wasn't invented till, I think it was Ben Franklin was the first one to kind of like think about it or something.
Yeah. I believe he harnessed electricity right?
I think he discovered it to a degree. I
Okay.
want to say it might have been.
Ain't that bad? It's part of our culture and our
I
heritage,
haven't-
and
I-
I still don't even remember it
Well,
fully.
I need to restudy up on some of my history, but yeah, I think Ben Franklin, I want to say, I think discovered electricity and discovered that it had potential, but I want to say I think it was Thomas Edison
Yeah.
that actually was able to utilize it. Between him and Nikola Tesla, they both technically worked off each other without trying to work off each other and made electricity a thing.
Yeah.
Because Tesla gave us the alternating current, which is what we use, for our power and stuff like that. But Edison was the one who had the light bulb to actually, I think, bring the power into the house.
Right. And throughout history, we're always told these legends and everything of, advanced civilizations. And like I said, I'm a big component of, if you really look at our timeline and what people say we are, we're 5,000 years.
That's what they say.
Estimate, right?
It's either 5,000 or 6,000 years, but I believe we're older than that.
I do too.
And the reason why is because I saw a scientist was saying that he studied the erosion factor in Egypt by where one of the pyramids are that has the pharaoh's head in it, and he said that the erosion the Sphinx, the erosion that caused that was caused by water, and the amount of water that would have to do that, we would have to rain there severely for years, like years and years.
Yeah.
And they said the last time it rained like that was like 10,000 years ago, when like that area had that amount of rainfall that would cause that kind of erosion and stuff like that. And so that then tells you that this has been around longer than what we supposedly believe that it is. So I think that we're older, and there's been more civilizations that have been around and existed. But the reason why I think we've not discovered some of them is because if you think about it, over time with volcanoes, landforms, and masses and stuff, things get buried, and some of these civilizations might be so far buried down from hundreds of thousands of millions of years of change and alteration, maybe why we haven't found some of them yet.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think, yes, I agree with you completely on that, because I was watching something about Alexander the Great and how that they were still uncovering his city because it's buried so far underneath the ground. And they're looking for where he possibly was buried at. But, yeah, I believe that really does take a factor in, and I do know what you're saying. I believe it was actually 30,000 years is what they're thinking for first Homo sapien type
civilization
that actually started. Well, with hunter-gatherers, with tribes and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because I think with the Sphinx, they said it was 10 to 20,000 year estimate on when it was built to where it had eroded away from where it's at now. Because erosion hasn't. Don't quote me on this, but I believe the erosion on the Sphinx has slowed down so much because of no water.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. The erosion that is on there that they've seen and discovered, they said is water erosion, and they said that the way for the water to erode the rock that way would take years and years of like constant water flow and rain. And they said that the area like that hasn't had that kind of rain flow for over like 10,000 years.
And I do believe that the face of the Sphinx has been.
It's been reduced. I 100% believe, that. I think the Egyptians found it, and then saw that it was eroded away and whatnot, and then turned it into what it was. Because they have shown that if you do the size comparison of the head to the rest of the body,
it's so small.
It's completely improportionate to how it's supposed to be. So yeah, they believe that it was something else. It's just that, like we said, after so much time and erosion and whatnot, they were like, we'll just reshape it.
Yeah, and I believe all that knowledge and all that technology of how we used to do things prior to our existence was alien technology. Let's put it this way. We live in houses, we live in apartments, we live in hotels, we have cars, we have planes, we have boats, we have trains. We have all this technology. Why does it seem like we're getting dumber? Because we're there, but our culture isn't allowing us to progress even more.
My thing is, the fact is that a lot of the inventions that we've come up with have meant to comfort people and make it easier for us to do things and whatnot compared. Because if you think about it, if you look at back before things were done, a lot of things we had to do by hand for certain things, but we come out with a lot of inventions to make life easier for us, to make it less working wise. And so, and then you got to think, even like back in the day, science and stuff was heavily, populated and like saying like focus, universities, we need this, we need that. Nowadays, people don't really care about it because they're all about, the social networking, trying to find a quick way to get money, you know, doing this, doing that. People want to put in the minimum amount of effort they can to get as much as they can
Well,
out of
it's
it.
not to get off the subject, but you know, if civilizations back then, granted, if they got the technology from alien life form, or if they actually were that advanced, our stuff won't be around in 30,000 years, 10,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs is still around.
Well,
So
you got to think though. Maybe back then at the time when aliens came down, we didn't have metalworking and stuff like what we.
I believe
do
we
now.
didn't. No, I believe we actually didn't when aliens first.
And then if you think about it, stone lasts longer than metal.
Yeah, but we still. So I seen a video of a sword being pulled out of a river over in England.
Mm-hmm.
A sword that literally was from the Viking Age.
Yeah.
So we still have things that do last on metalworking. But yes, you're right. The pottery that was from caveman time, air time, all those other times are still around because we find them and they're preserved. But
Well, they're earth-wise elements. They're in their purest form. Because if you think about it, all metal that you find, you have to break it down through smelting to purify it to make it something.
right, we do.
But when you look at the clay and the stone,
It's natural.
it's natural and whatnot. And like clay's proven that when you harden it, it'll stay that way forever.
As long as you don't break
As long as you don't break it, and even if it gets water on it, it'll have little erosion like actual stone does. And stone breaks down through time of water, you know, airflow currents of certain things, you know, and whatnot. That's why I think some of that stuff has lasted as long as because it's pure natural. They didn't have to altercate. Because like I said, you can go outside right now,
So,
find
yeah.
a thing of clay.
You're doing that, right? You're saying that. But what if aliens did come to the planet, and I believe they did, because we have countless, you know, sightings to today. Area 51 exists, so something is there. We're just not allowed to know.
Yeah.
Everybody that works there is signed to secrecy. They can't disclose any information. If you do, you're probably dead on the second you get ready to say it, or you die in that facility because you've worked there your whole life.
Yeah.
Right? If our metalworking deteriorates over time, what's not to say metalworking didn't exist thousands and 10 to 20,000 years ago, but they're gone because it's either buried or it's just deteriorated over time. Now, the funny thing is we're talking about pyramids. Why is not the top of the pyramids where the peak is erosion, but the rest of it's eroding?
No, the peak's got erosion on it.
It's not eroding as fast as the rest of it, though.
Well, it's because the rest of it used to be covered in old smooth limestone.
The top?
The top was hard granite graphite, if I remember, I think,
Okay.
and whatnot. And then the rest of it was supposed to be coated in smooth limestone and whatnot. But that limestone has slowly eroded away and whatnot. That's why the pyramids look like stepping stones. Because initially they were smooth on both sides.
I believe,
Yeah, and whatnot. So that stuff probably eroded away, and it didn't help while that was eroding. Probably help eroding what was also underneath it as well. And then the top, think about it, it gets hit and just trickles down to everything else
Yeah, you're right.
and whatnot. But my thing is too, when it comes to, let's say, think about it, we're finding cities underneath water.
Yeah.
You know, because there could have been civilizations that existed on massive islands that, you know, during a massive cataclysm, you know, could have wiped them out.
Billy's being a goofball in the background.
And it's Billy.
I'm not sure what he wanted, but yeah, he was looking at us.
But like I said, you know, some cities like that have been discovered, you know, completely buried underneath water.
No, yeah, it has. They said they've seen chariots in the water, deep down.
So yeah, so apparently where I think it was Moses departed the Red Sea, they said they found horse chariots, stuff like that and whatnot. So possibly believing the story of that could have been true. My thing is this. That could have just been a land bridge. And when they decided to cross it that one day, natural cataclysm could have just happened. Because look at Pompeii, for example, in history. That volcano just erupted. You know, they weren't expecting it.
No, but
you know,
would we expect ours to go off?
we have a chance to understand that now because of our technology. But when you look at their technology back then, they had no way. And as far as I know, they might have had detections. They could have. I don't fully know.
I'm not building a city at the base of a freaking volcano.
But at the same time, you know, if it's very good for resources and stuff
That's
like
true.
that,
It makes it simpler.
you know.
But
But that's what I'm saying. And then I actually saw a video a couple weeks ago that where Pompeii was at like a little bit away from it, there was another place. I want to say it was called like Herculaneum, I think, or whatnot. It had a volcano that erupted there and whatnot, because the video I was watching was showing that there was apparently a library there that was never supposed to exist, that had hundreds of thousands of scrolls that we actually found and have been deciphering through and whatnot and stuff. But yeah, so my thing is like, what if, like I said, back to the whole thing with those chariots, what if there was a land bridge, there was no water there, they were just cruising, and then all of a sudden, a massive water just came in or whatnot and caused that to happen? We don't know.
No, that's the thing about aliens existing. We really don't know, but we hear so many stories. We hear of lizard people still around the planet.
Yeah. Skinwalkers.
Let me ask you this. Mermaids, you believe they exist or no? Because if they do exist, could they be a certain form of alien life form?
Or what if they were people but just went down a different evolutionary path?
True.
Yeah. What if they just evolved to live in the water instead of us living on the land?
Do you believe the lizard people live here or have been here, or is this a myth?
I think they do, and the reason why I believe that is because not only do you have Indians and telling stories of these people existing, but you have other stories existing across the sea in like the European area and stuff like that, and those cultures have never talked to each other back in that time when you read some of their stories. Like I said in a previous video about dragons, how different and whatnot. So I think they do exist and whatnot, because to me it's a little too coincidental to have different groups of people talk about one specific group that also never make contact with each other.
Exactly.
So how does different groups of people who never ever had contact with each other throughout time talk about the same group of people?
Now, do you believe if we're on the line of agreeing that lizard people exist, and I do believe they do. Call me a quack, call me a nut job, whatever. I do believe they exist. I still believe they are alive today. I don't think they ever, disappeared completely.
Went into hiding, I would
Do
say.
you believe they're from another planet, or do you believe they evolved here? Because there's been, people saying, hey, there's individuals in the world that are 3 feet tall. And then we got people in the world that's 7 feet tall. Our genetics are so crazy, it's so wishy-washy. Do we believe that, lizard people or other people in the world could have been here to alter our genetics?
I mean, that's very possible. I mean, some people believe that with the ancient Egyptians, the people that worship as gods some people believe were aliens that came down to alter DNA to speed us up. Or
Anunnaki?
Yeah, the Anunnaki.
The Anunnaki.
Yeah.
Because evidently, that's been throughout history, and I've seen it more often than anything, and they're making a movie of it.
Oh, I didn't know about that. But my thing is, this planet also could have been, at one point in time, say for example, what if we could have coexisted with the lizard people? If whatnot, say they were living up top like with us, but, like you've seen in movies or read in books, eventually maybe there was conflict and stuff like that. There could have been war or something, and maybe we drilled them out or something, or maybe for some reason they started to evolve where they couldn't stay on the surface with us anymore and had to go underground and survive. There's different possibilities of what may or may not could have happened. So it's a weird thing. My thing is though, I think if they do exist, the reason why they haven't tried, I think, make contact with us is because I remember this quote from Men in Black by Tommy Lee Jones, and it makes sense. A person is smart. People are stupid, panicky, and can't comprehend things in a group like that.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why maybe if like aliens existed and stuff, why we've not seen them or why there hasn't been no like straight like full on contact and stuff is because, like I said, a group of people, you could have a handful of those that will understand what's going on, but an entire collective, if one starts freaking out, everyone freaks out, and then you have a problem.
Yeah. You are so right on that, and people panic way too much, way too quick. They overthink things.
Like the other big quote, we fear what we don't understand.
Right. Well, that's just...
But that's another thing like that causes panic and stuff. If we had an alien come down, like I said, some people would be like, oh, we can see where this goes. And then you're going to have a majority of people going, oh my God, we're getting taken out. And just start causing panic.
So, Billy brought something up to me, one day we were talking about work, but he had brought up space exploration. If it is the case that space you're able to travel through space and aliens can get here to us, and they can help us build pyramids. They can give us the technology and everything. Why in the world do you think they haven't given us the technology to travel through space like they do?
My theory is because of the fact we are a warmongering, violent society of people. If we claim we want peace, we claim we want the good intentions of people, which majority of us do, but deep down to our core, we are a violent group of people. Because if we actually wanted peace and tendency, we wouldn't have the amount of war, violence, and stuff we do today. My thing is I think alien species that may have visited us in the past, because of what the technology we had then, they didn't really see it as that much of an issue. But maybe now with what we got, they could, and seeing how we've progressed through life, how we've still just killed each other, slaughtered each other, gone to wars over stuff and whatnot, they, in their minds, could be like, they're doing this on this planet. What makes us think they might change if they go to other planets and start taking over there? And if we start giving them more and more resources to spread further and further and further, you know, we're a colonizing takeover group of people everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
That is just what we do. We're like, what was it? I don't think it was Julius Caesar that said this quote, but it was like, we came, we saw, we conquer. That is what the human race does.
Yeah, that's what we have done throughout history.
That's why I think if they visited us in the past, like I said, we didn't have some of the tech we have now, so they were like, they're not that bad. But if they have observed us and watched us and seen how we progressed, they might have been like, yeah, we don't need to give them a reason to leave this planet to go do this stuff elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, on that side note, we're going to have to cut this topic short.
Yeah, we could keep going for a good minute.
I know you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, hopefully you liked what we had to say. If you did, leave that hit that like button. Leave a comment. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And tell us your opinion on aliens. What do you think? Do they real? Do they exist? Do you think they could be connected to the pyramids? Let us know. But this has been Babbling Buffoons. All babbling, all buffoonery.